Good evening, everybody. I'm Scott Binsack. It is December 19th, midnight. Tonight, I'm going to be covering MFA Nightly News, as well as a special segment on the secret UFO program that the Pentagon has now just released. I believe they are releasing this because they are going to do one or two things. They're going to claim that we are not alone sometime in the near future, and or they are going to try a possible false alien invasion, which has been predicted for some time with Project Bluebeam. I believe it's going to be of the latter and not Project Bluebeam. We are still going back and forth all over social media with people trying to claim that Antifa had something to do with this horrible train wreck in Washington State. Antifa has nothing to do with Washington State, and as you found out from the TSA and others, that the train was going much faster than it was supposed to be around this curve. At first, it was believed the tracks were not designed properly to handle the speed, and now they're finding out that the train was just going way too fast. People are trying to tie in Atlanta Airport with this train wreck. There are no ties with this train wreck. This was a first day run of this train. They did not have the fail safes installed all properly or even working. There is nothing to do with any false flag activity or what's really happened at Atlanta Airport. And there's new information coming to myself, and I'm going to now investigate the Atlanta airport situation, because there was a plane that landed just almost at the exact time that the power went down, and that plane was then later allowed to take off when other planes were not allowed to take off. And it is tied to an Israeli company, okay, as well as a cargo company that does not have to check in with customs and has its own check-in with customs. And yes, some of my viewers here are saying that the BS in the media is crazy. Yes, it is. People are talking constantly on 4chan and believing that there is indictment sealed in Nevada against Hillary Clinton and Obama, and at all. There are none. There is no such thing. These are outright lies. These are outright fake news. There are not 4,000 sealed indictments against all Hillary Clinton people, XYZ, and Donald Trump secretly working with Mueller. And this is madness. Madness. I'm going to tell you now, you're going to see, after the meeting with Donald Trump's lawyers, Mueller's investigation is going to go on way into 2018 if he does not get canned. And this is what the Trump administration and the Republican congressmen and Senate are trying to do, is cast a doubt on Mueller and his team. Yes, there's some biases in there, etc. However, my point being is that's why you saw Donald Trump Jr. come out today and start slamming Hillary Clinton again and others, and saying that, that there are people high up in government that are out to get the Trump administration and the Trump family, because Jr. knows his time is short before he's indicted, okay? Or that indictment is opened. I'm telling you, this is serious stuff going on with them, and they're playing the American people, sadly. And you can be the biggest Trump fan as you want. I could care less. You're going to go down with the ship. I'm telling you now. You're going to end up going down with the ship, and if it doesn't come to that because Donald Trump fires Mueller or they fire the acting head of the head of the investigation, Rod Rosenstein, you're going to see a major congressional and Senate uproar here. This is going to be major. It's already a constitutional crisis. Trust me. We're on the wing. We're floating on it. The madness, and both sides are dirty. That's my whole point. Americans. I heard this great thing today by a woman. She was on. I was flipping through the things again, and she was a guest on CNN, and she said, "You know what? I worked for 2 other presidential administrations." Okay. She goes, "I didn't work for the president. I worked for the American people." Okay? There's a big difference. people in these jobs, that's like most average FBI agents, CIA, the above, they go into work to work for the American people. And I know these guys. I'm telling you, listen, there's dirty cops, there's dirty FBI, there's dirty CIA. That's not my point. There's also 75, 80%, 90% even good people in these organizations that have nothing to do with what goes on in the shadow government or beyond that. And I know these people, some of these people, okay, these even FBI agents up close, dined with them, were with them on a regular basis. And I can tell you something, they take their job very seriously. That doesn't mean they don't lie, they don't do this or whatever. However, they take their job seriously and they don't work directly for the president. To them, they work for the American people. That's my point. Okay? They work for the American people. And that's what she said. In this administration, she worked for under Bush, she worked under Clinton, whoever she worked on, and Obama, whatever. But she worked for both sides, Republican and Democrat. And she said, every president I worked for I didn't work for, meaning I worked for the American people. Okay? I was not loyal to the president. I was loyal to the country, America. That's the difference. You see with this Trump situation, these very far right, these Bannon and Breitbart situations in the Fox News, these people are going out because I'm going to tell you something. I want you all to think about this. This is why Congress and the Senate are doing this as well. If Donald Trump is proven to have colluded, his kids, Kushner, whatever, right? If it's proven that, all the Republicans that stood by Donald Trump are going to look like they have egg on their face. Okay? Senators, congressmen. Same thing with Fox. Fox supported Trump and was out there, everything with Trump. And even, Hannity has spread some serious shit that's not correct, even about Seth Rich. It's a lie. And this is my point. Trump goes down, all these people are going to look very, very bad. Okay, and the congressmen don't want that for their districts. That's why they're trying to protect the Republican president. Please understand this and derail this investigation. And I'm not talking about dossier stuff. I'm talking about true election interference with the Russians, and they knew about it, and it was a deal between them. And that's the truth that's going to come out. And if people believe that Trump is for all these people, Trump is for Trump. Trump is for Trump like Hillary's for Hillary. They're all dirty. Americans should be for America and not for a president. That's where they go wrong. You want to stand up for your country, yourself, your family, not be loyal to death to a president. That doesn't work that way. That's what's happening here. People don't understand. The Second Amendment is being attacked from both sides. Both sides. Both sides. It's not just, the Democrats. Understand that. They're all about big government no matter which way you go. And they'll go, well, Trump's trying to protect that and is fighting against deep state and all this shit. Listen. It's getting to the point that it's maddening. I mean, it is just maddening. Maddening. That people are going down this rabbit hole constantly believing that there's, listen, there's deep state on both sides. They're at war here. And there is a shadow government, and it has been since the inception of the United States. This is not a joke. But I can assure you, Donald Trump is doing nothing but trying to cover up what they did. And they did do it. And like I said, this has nothing to do with the dossier. Nada. And there's no coincidences in life. So people want to push all this stuff off that it was made up and that. And people don't plead guilty. Okay? The Flynns and the Papadopouloses. And get wired up and things of that nature for no reason. Because it was so supposedly made up. People need to look at the logical facts of this case. All right, let's get into some news.
Massive Southern California wildfires threatening more homes this morning after advancing 3 miles since Saturday. At 270,000 acres. The Thomas Fire is the third largest wildfire in modern California history. A funeral procession for a firefighter killed Thursday crossed 5 counties. First responders saluted as it passed. Carter Evans is in Montecito near Santa Barbara, where multi-million-dollar estates burned. Carter, good morning.
Good morning. This is one of 9 homes that burned in the Montecito area. With the break in the winds, firefighters say yesterday was one of the most productive days they've had on this 2-week-old fire. There are some 8,500 firefighters working right now to stop the flames.
8,500.
The Thomas Fire roared back to life over the weekend as wind gusts hitting 70 miles per hour pushed the flames into the wealthy community of Montecito near Santa Barbara. This is what Sonia Bierman's house looked like on Friday, but this is the devastation she returned to on Sunday night.
It's hard, let me tell you. We've had our moments. It's been crying until we got here, and it's like, words can't explain.
On Saturday, more than 3,000 people in and around Montecito were forced to evacuate.
These flames are like 3 stories high. You know, they're scary to look at.
Some 1,300...
You know, I have to say this. People are still... The horrible hate and the division that's been created in this country with liberals and conservatives, and I'm embarrassed to even say that I even for a moment got sucked into this with Trump and this beginning part, and with even marching to support him and do the thing, because both sides play the American people, and I will never vote again. And the reality, yes, part of California is liberal, part of it's conservative. But the nastiness against these people who have lost their homes, are suffering from these fires, and that you see on the internet, that, you know, screw those liberals, let them die, let them burn, horrible stuff. Okay, people in America have, a lot of people, this percentage, have lost grip on what being a human being, an American, is about. The hate is horrible. The hate is horrible. And the comments that you see made on Twitter and Facebook, and that when these things, people are showing these feeds, and super, it's just devastating on how people, you know, just like even in my situation in MFAs with these haters, these people just don't, they're not well. It's just like they just don't stop. And the hate is growing and growing across this country, around the world actually, but especially here in the United States. The division is getting worse. And people need to be very concerned about this. Okay? And you know what? Normally you'd see people come together to help each other. And locally they are in California. But, you know, across the country, you're seeing this hate and this horrible stuff like let California burn, let it drop off into the ocean, do this thing and that thing. I mean, that is just, I don't care if it's got a liberal governor. I don't care if it's got a corrupt Ninth Circuit court, which it does. Okay? And nobody knows, you know, who these people are. Nobody knows who they believe in. Yes, Michael, the comments are horrible, as Michael Power says. They're very, very bad. Just horrible comments. Horrible. I just wanted to touch on that.
Structures in Montecito were threatened this weekend, but firefighters were able to keep the number damaged or destroyed to 15.
The firestorm destroyed these homes. The firefighters didn't lose anything.
When that wind was blowing, there's not much you can do.
There's no way you could stop a fire front like that.
The fire has now scorched more than 420 square miles.
Wow.
If it were placed over the New York City area at more than 40 miles wide, it would reach from New Jersey into Long Island. More than 700 homes have been destroyed and 18,000 structures are still threatened. The Thomas Fire has claimed 2 lives, including 32-year-old firefighter Corey Iverson, who died Thursday from burns and smoke inhalation. Firefighters and other mourners honored Iverson Sunday by lining the streets for his funeral procession. He's survived by his pregnant wife and 2-year-old daughter. This fire is now 45% contained, and mandatory evacuation orders are still in place, but there is almost no wind right now, and that is great news. So firefighters are working fast to get a containment line all the way around the fire before the winds are forecast to return again on Wednesday. Gail?
And the touch and go continues. Can't say enough about.
And this is the new norm for California. And people, please, I'm not tooting my own horn. A year ago, and from starting a year ago to current, I have warned people that they were going to burn California to the ground. Okay? And you've seen nothing but that continue and slowly get worse and worse and worse. And now it's being ruled that this is the new norm going forward, that California will have these constant fires and other issues like earthquakes and that, meaning worse. This is the new norm. This is the new norm. And yes, some people, they're deciding in California if they live in certain areas, if they're going to permit them to allow them to rebuild or meet. They're going to probably change the building codes to where you have to live, clear 30 feet to 40 feet of vegetation around your home, things of that nature.
Job that the firefighters are.
I want to say something. I see a lot of comments from people about, the hate and things that are going on. I'm telling you, this division, this really acute division, okay, we already still had race. It's sad we still have in 2017, going into 2018, acute racism and things of that nature. But this hatred of division has been started with this 2016 election and is still coming into play now. And I'm mad. You want to know why I'm mad? Because Donald Trump and his family and them are using these lies, this bullshit, okay, to stop, because they got caught. I'm telling you, they got caught. And the other side got caught too, rightfully so, the Democrats, with the false things, the dossier, and Hillary Clinton paying for that, and the DNC, and then shared her with Bernie. The whole thing is bad. The whole thing is horrible, but it's the new norm. It's like the hate is the new norm. People talk about survival. You're going to have to learn to survive just the hatred. Just hatred alone and being harassed on the internet, and that's why we're producing MFA Social and MFA, our own private network, because it's just horrible. Who wants to be harassed and stalked or horrible comments and hate thrown? It happens with children. The bullying with children has increased threefold over the past year. 2 years, actually, because it started in 2016 election. Kids were going to school if they wore Trump or Hillary or this or that, and they all got, they got in trouble if they showed their parents' views. This is how bad it's gotten in this country.
You're doing there. Thank you so much,
Also around the world, the Philippines was hit over the weekend by a powerful tropical storm. More than 24 people were killed in landslides caused by the heavy rains, and another 24 people are still missing. On the resort island of Boracay, hundreds of Korean nationals were stranded, but transportation from the island is now resuming. Kim Mo-gyun has this report.
On Saturday, tropical storm Kai-tak battered the island of Biliran in the eastern Philippines with heavy rain, strong winds, and flash flooding. This triggered landslides, which local authorities say killed at least 26 people, but the National Disaster Risk Reduction Agency is yet to confirm the death toll. Rescuers are frantically searching for the 23 people still missing, but those efforts are proving difficult as many areas are still flooded. Korea's foreign ministry said that about 400 Korean nationals have been stranded on Boracay.
Not to interrupt this, Larry is saying that division was not started by Trump. He's using it. Well, there's been division in this country, sure, of course, okay? And like I'm pointing out, from racism, bullying issues, and hate, it was there already. Here's my point, okay? Here's my serious point in this. Trump tapped into the hate. Trump tapped into the already existing hate and anger of many people being fed up with their government, being fed up with not having, jobs, being fed up with, you name it, okay? Trump tapped into that hate. Trust what I tell you. And if you look statistically at a majority of Trump voters, okay, it proves this, okay? And he's tapped into this group. Not all of them. I'm a good percentage of them, okay? And that's how he pulled this off. And by tapping into this, and he's feeding that particular far-right base. And now the Republicans know they're fucked. You want to know why? Because if they don't support him and keep him in there and try to get rid of this, they know he's guilty. I'm telling you, a majority of these senators on the commission, they know he's guilty. Republicans. I'm not just talking about Democrats. Okay? They know he's guilty of this. They know Kushner and what he did. They know this shit. Trust me, they have access to this. And Mueller's got tons of evidence. I've been trying to tell people that for months and months, and people come out and go, that's not true. Mueller's going after Hillary Clinton. She's indicted. She's wearing an ankle bracelet. John McCain's wearing an ankle bracelet. This is the shit that goes on 4chan. And people believe this. They'll post it. Scott, look. I'm like, you're maddening. You people believe this stuff because they want to believe so bad that who they voted for is not a fraud and a liar. Okay? When it comes to the things that he's talking about with Russia. And I keep saying again, the man can turn over his taxes, and I'm not trying to sound democratic. I'm trying to say factual. If he's got nothing to hide, audit or not, turn over your freaking taxes. And you're going to see all the Russian companies. You're going to see the money owed and things, and that's what he's petrified of. He's petrified. That's why he said with Mueller, that's a red line, his personal finances. Yes, Stephen, very well says. Just burns me up, man. God, does it burn me up. And people are brainwashed to this. They are brainwashed to this. Oh, God, bless it.
Island since Saturday, but reported no casualties. Local travel agencies say that transportation services have resumed early today, allowing tourists to travel back home.
In order to go to Boracay, tourists need to ride the boat that connect the airport to the island. But services have been shut down since Saturday, but they resumed now, so our passengers are now at the airport.
The storm toppled power lines in nearly 40 cities, broke bridges, and paralyzed transportation in many areas, forcing about 88,000 people to flee their homes. President Rodrigo Duterte visited the storm-hit areas on Monday, promising the government's utmost efforts to continue monitoring the situation and provide better countermeasures. Kim Mo-gyan, Arirang News.
5 Chinese warplanes crossed into Korean and even Japanese air defense identification zone on Monday. Though Beijing says it was a pre-planned and an ordinary drill, what's puzzling is the timing of the event, coming just 2 days after President Moon had returned from a state visit to that country. With more, our Oh Jung-hee reports.
5 Chinese warplanes entered Korea Air Defense Identification Zone on Monday for what China is calling a, quote, ordinary drill. According to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, 2 H-6 bombers and 2 J-11 fighter jets appeared from the southwest of Korea's Yeodo Island. They flew into Korea's Air Defense ID Zone and the area where the zones of South Korea, Japan, and China overlap. The planes reached the Japanese zone and then returned to China. One Tu-154 reconnaissance plane that flew for 2 hours went even farther east, up to waters of Japan's central Kanazawa City. South Korea dispatched aircraft for surveillance immediately after the planes were detected. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff say the Chinese side has told South Korea over the military hotline that this is just a routine exercise and that it won't be entering South Korea's airspace. But the exact intention of China's flyover is still being analyzed. China's defense ministry also announced that this was a planned exercise and did not target any specific country or region. But speculation is rising as to why the flights had to take place just after South Korean President Moon Jae-in wrapped up his visit to Beijing.
All military actions have political implications, and it's been only 2 days since President Moon came back from China. China is taking a two-track approach that it won't step back in security terms, even if Korea-China relations are recovering.
Chinese military planes have entered Korea's air defense zone multiple times since China unilaterally declared its own such zone in 2013, which overlaps with parts of Korea and Japan's zones. The last time was in early January this year when 12 warplanes crossed into the South Korean zone. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
Tracking this over the past hour or so, it appears to be over, but it appears to be yet another attack or attempted attack by ISIS right in the center of the Afghanistan capital of Kabul. 3 of their fighters said to storm a building there under construction at the country's national spy headquarters. They used a car bomb. They used RPGs. There was an intense fight. These 3 militants apparently were killed by Afghan security forces. There's no other casualties being reported. The once secure Afghan capital has been a battleground over the past several months. Just in May, we saw a car bomb attack, a truck bomb attack, which left 150 dead. All of this, Sandra, comes on the heels of a report by the Pentagon to Congress just on Friday saying that all was going well with the fight in Afghanistan. But it did note in the past 6 months, there have been 2,500 operations or strikes involving U.S. Special Force operators along with Afghan security members. They were going after both the Taliban and the ISIS. Remember, President Trump has put 14,000 troops in this country right now. And that
14,000 troops.
16 plus.
Security is always tight around the Vatican this time of year, but right now tensions are particularly high as terrorists openly threaten to attack during the holiday season. Tonight, senior foreign affairs correspondent Amy Kellogg takes us on a ride with security personnel trying to keep one of the world's busiest tourist areas safe.
Out on patrol with the head of Rome's police, we get a call about a suspicious package at the central train station. We head out to see the bomb disposal team at work, carefully checking for signs of explosives. It turns out to be nothing. But this elaborate procedure over a clearly empty bag is a sign of the times. This ancient city and the Vatican, particularly at this time of year, are magnets for tourists. Police are on the ground checking the bags of everyone who wants to enter St. Peter's Square. And back in police headquarters, they are monitoring everything fed back by security cameras. ISIS supporters made a threat for an attack on St. Peter's over the holidays. Police take it seriously.
We made certain zones of security, zones of maximum vigilance.
Donna, I want to point out, when ISIS says it's going to attack churches in New York for Christmas and things like that, how do I want to say this? That's a lot of propaganda and more for fear and things of that nature, just so you know. All right, that's not to say there wouldn't be an attack carried out. I know New York's on the target list for false flags and things, but I'm going to tell you, they deliberately do that every year. They say the same thing, churches or the tree or New Year's Eve or do whatever. It's just more and more bullshit. You got to ask yourselves this question. You have got to ask yourselves this question. Why does our government allow ISIS to have an outlet to say this stuff and even threaten this stuff on the internet? They can shut them down anywhere, anytime that they want. Why do they keep allowing ISIS to have and put its agenda and put out these fears and statements? Because they created ISIS, okay? They have created this situation, and they use it as propaganda. They use it as propaganda, constant propaganda, for fear, for fear, for fear. All the fear factor. People should not live on edge like this. And I know that's harder to say than done, but the propaganda machine's got to stop. People have got to decipher the difference between what's real and what's not, because this is serious propaganda.
In areas that are most frequented by tourists.
So far, Italy has not been hit with a major ISIS-style terrorist attack. But the man who killed 12 at the Berlin Christmas market last year turned up in Milan, where he was ultimately killed by police. Terrorists transit through here, keeping the country on an alert that is on par with the rest of Europe.
The Ministry of Interior raised the threat level after the Bataclan attack in Paris to 2. Level 2 means an attack is potential, even probable.
The presence of police and even military is quite visible here in Rome and, frankly, across Italy. And it's not just that it appears to be that there's more police presence on the street. In the past 10 years or so, the number of patrol cars out and about has increased fourfold. Theories abound about why Italy has so far remained unscathed. Some say the mafia keeps ISIS killers out so as not to invite a further increase in police
What'd they say?
intrusiveness.
The mob in Italy keeps ISIS fighters out of Rome. Pay attention.
Others say Italy has not been hit because it has so far not carried out targeted killings of ISIS leaders. But there is consensus on one thing: experience dealing with domestic terrorism in the 70s and the mafia for decades has honed this country's ability to gather intelligence. In Rome, Amy Kellogg, Fox News.
Israel's prime minister urged European allies to support the president's decision. That follows a series of violent protests by Palestinians over the weekend. 4 people were killed and dozens hurt. Seth Doan is in Jerusalem, where there are fears the violence will continue. Seth, good morning.
Good morning. Hamas, the Islamic group, has issued ominous new warnings about more violence to come, and new fronts have opened in this battle beyond Israel.
Demonstrations continued around the world today, this one in Bangladesh. In Israel, police reinforcements were deployed this morning following the stabbing of an Israeli security guard at a Jerusalem bus station. At street protests, the debate has been crude. And while diplomats may not be throwing stones, the divisions over President Trump's recognition of Jerusalem are just as clear. In Brussels today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urged European leaders to give a yet-to-be-seen U.S. peace plan a chance.
Jerusalem has been the capital of Israel for the last 70 years. I think what President Trump has done is put facts squarely on the table.
Arab League foreign minister...
Bullshit. You're as corrupt as the rest of them. Totally corrupt. Totally corrupt. And this is nothing against the Israeli people at all. Benjamin Netanyahu is corrupt. God, is he corrupt. And there's a faction in Israel who want him out based on that same information.
Over the weekend denounced Mr. Trump's decision, saying it pushed the region to more violence.
Oh, it's pushed the region to a hotbed. I mean, it was a hotbed before. Now it's a fucking, it's an inferno going on, and it's getting ready to turn into an all-out blaze.
Think about President Trump's decision.
Well, he made the right decision. The question is, was the timing and the circumstances right?
Veteran Israeli diplomat Alon Pincus was chief of staff to 4 foreign ministers. He worries Mr. Trump's move could make this region even more volatile.
The president and some of his advisors have been talking at length about the deal of the century and the peace process to end all peace processes. I haven't seen that. It's like the Loch Ness peace process.
And now we have official confirmation from the White House that the Palestinians have pulled out of a meeting scheduled between Vice President Mike Pence and Mahmoud Abbas.
What good did any of this do? Nothing. Just they're canceling meetings. How is this going to lead to peace in the area? It's got to be the most stupidest thing. And now Saudi Arabia is coming out and saying it'll lead to peace talks, and that's been the plan with Israel. And Israel said that that would be okay with the deal that they have. I mean, this has done nothing. But Donald Trump had to do it because he's owed to the Zionists of Israel. Trust what I tell you. And part of the main reason that Adelson met with Trump right after the shootings is because, and right, I told you then, when he met with Adelson, if you look back at my post and my show from that week, I said you're going to see next Donald Trump keep his promise, and this is the backroom deal, to say, go out publicly and say that Israel was Jerusalem's capital. What did he do? Boom! That's exactly what they did, because that's the back end deal here. It didn't matter the timing. It didn't matter what would come of it. It didn't matter any of it. It was that his way to, this is the deal. This is what he had to do. They own Trump. I'm telling you. They own him. Israel, the Russians, Donald Trump's like everybody's puppet. No disrespect, I'm telling you.
Palestinian president. That meeting is officially canceled. Nora?
Seth Doan in Jerusalem.
What did he do? He simply recognized reality that everybody knows. Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. But he also affirmed, whether he meant to or not, what God ordained. And I'm sure the people around him said, yes, Jerusalem is the capital of Israel by God. And what was the reaction to this obvious thing? The world goes crazy. The leaders of Europe came out against it, or Western Europe. The spokesperson for the European Union came out against it. The United States Secretary General came out against it. Even the Pope came out against it. Even in America, he was condemned by several Democratic leaders. The only problem is several of the Democratic leaders who condemned Trump for recognizing Israel had voted for the resolution calling for America to recognize Israel and Jerusalem. It was a first in American history. They were condemning the president for not going against the resolution they voted for. It shows the hypocrisy of it all. Every platform, Republican and Democratic, has called for Jerusalem to be the capital of Israel, be recognized. Though the Democratic Convention, one of them, once booed Jerusalem and got out of the platform, and as we're trying to. But when Trump actually does what everybody said to do, they go crazy. The Arab leaders, of course, came out against it. The Turkish president, Erdogan, he called it a red line and threatened to cut off diplomatic relations with Israel. King Hussein of Jordan said he would be calling the decision, or he called the decision illegal, and called for the gathering of the Arabic League. The Palestinian Authority President Abbas called for 3 days of rage. From today's news, anti-Israel Day of Rage gains momentum with protests across the Middle East and Asia. Clashes broke out in Jerusalem, the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, as thousands of Palestinians' Day of Rage protesters dragged into a third day. Thousands of people also gathered in protest in Algeria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Malaysia, Kashmir, Iran, and Indonesia. Muslim countries. U.S. embassies across those regions tightened their security in anticipation of further demonstrations. Palestinian Islamist group Hamas, which controls the Gaza Strip, called for a new uprising or intifada beginning Friday, today, against Israelis. The Palestinian Authority announced that Vice President Mike Pence, who is set to visit the region later this month, is no longer welcome in Palestinian territories. Interesting thing, on this same day, today, the United Nations had an emergency meeting to condemn the violence. No, they had nothing to say about it. Nothing, not a word. But to condemn the fact that America simply recognized the capital of Israel. Interesting. The nations of Central and Eastern Europe, the former communist camp, in past times, they would have voted, they would have come against Israel all the time. But they actually were muted in their response, while the nations of Western Europe, which is supposed to be supposedly less anti-Israel, they were openly against it. One of those Eastern European nations, the Czech Republic, was one of almost all the nations that voted a week before, against Israel, that Israel, in effect, had no right to Jerusalem. It was one of those nations. But after Trump's declaration, the president of the Czech Republic said he was delighted and is thinking maybe we should move the Czech embassy also to Jerusalem. What was that? Go figure. What does that tell you? The world is crazy.
Tell us about
yes, I have. I've got lots to tell you.
Go on, just give us.
Believe in the...
The tax bill just passed the Senate, and then it has to get voted on one more time for the fail-safe. So the Trump's tax plan is put through, and, you know, as an owner of a few corporations, I'll say, yes, this is good for corporations, but I do not believe it's going to bring jobs back to America. I believe they will move their headquarters back. They probably won't even move most of their money offshore back, and they're going to ring in through this. Some will bring plants, some will do, some, but not on a major overall scale. And yes, we'll get a tax break. Several, other people will get tax breaks. In the long run, we'll see. It could go either way. It's a gamble. It's a total gamble. So we'll see. I'm going to be discussing the UFO, recent Pentagon release of this UFO, and bring you a video about it. And I fully believe, from information I got today, and that's why I'm going to focus on this tonight, that this is either real, okay, what they're showing, In other words, this is real, and they're going to come out and say, okay, we are not alone. Okay? Or they're going to, this is fake. Okay? And they're using this, is going to be using this as a major, major distraction and event in the world. Something is going to happen. Like all of a sudden, okay, you know, I don't mean immediately. I mean, this is the beginning of the trickle out of, this is the first time that they've actually really shown something that even from a pilot that is not normal. And they said a whole bunch of them and a fleet of them will go through that. Yeah, older people, it's going to affect, Linda. This is not, this tax plan is not, like I'm telling you, it is not good. Because paying for it and that, and I know Trump has always said he's not going to tax Social Security and Medicare. I don't buy that. I believe that's coming. I believe that's coming, and they're going to be cutting from all these different areas to pay for this tax plan. Because, I'm telling you now, it's going to affect the overall deficit in the United States by over $1 trillion plus. Yes, Michael, I'm live. Yes, small business. Listen, it's going to help small business, and I'm all for all that. But I'm looking at the overall picture of how it affects people, and mostly the middle class, because the middle class has been wiped out, and it's getting more and more wiped out. And over Obama, the middle class was up, and then it just went shoop. So now your middle class is here, and then all of a sudden it goes woof, super wealthy, up, boom, right up the ladder. There is no middle anymore. There's no middle anymore. George Bush tried this, what Trump is, in a sense. The timing was different then, obviously. But he tried similar to this, that would bring the offshore, that the companies here would bring their offshore money back to the United States, keep it here in U.S. banks and things of that nature. But, you know, these major companies, Microsoft, Google, they keep billions offshore, okay? Billions offshore to avoid the taxes here in the United States. We can do that legally with an offshore account, but if you do it, okay, they will come after you to get you, you know, if you do it in the wrong sense in one way or another, they will come after you. They don't go after the big companies that keep their stuff offshore. Not at all. Not at all. Even Facebook keeps theirs, Belfast, Ireland, many, many offshore corporations tied to that. Yes, Tim, I just said the tax plan was just passed by the Senate. Yes, Lisa, that's out. There is no penalty anymore with this bill. They removed the Obama, which is a good part of this bill, the fine for not having health insurance. That is cut out of this. And that's part of this bill in the back end to force the Democrats into a new health care plan. Yeah, there's lots of loopholes in here. And they're not changing the it's a whole. I'll do a segment on the tax plan and what it covers and doesn't, in some good detail for you tomorrow night. How's that? That'll be my segment. Tonight I'm going to be talking about this secret UFO, because I think this, and from information I got today, that this is serious. This is not just some, okay, we're going to make this open to the public, that we had this secret program, and that there's definitely, they're showing you in these videos that there's something, you know, an unidentified flying object, and the pilots are coming out and being allowed to talk about it. You can hear their recordings, and they're deliberately using this video.
Pentagon's secret UFO program revealed. The military spending millions of dollars to look into UFO sightings, and videos from American fighter pilots all being made public and raising a lot of questions.
Dude, this is a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
Hear what he said? There's a whole fleet of them. There's a whole fleet of them. A whole fleet of these things. I only see one on the screen, but they say a whole fleet.
120 knots to the west. Look at that thing, dude.
That thing's moving fast.
That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. I do have an LNS, dude. Well, if there's, look at that thing. It's rotated.
Purpose of the program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, was really designed to do just that. From a national security perspective, identify those things that we see, whether we see them electro-optically, we see them with radar, we see them at...
I do not think this is one of ours or another country's. If it's real, okay? If this is real, which it seems like it is, but that doesn't mean it can't be CIA created, you know, with a video and some pilots talking. But I believe it to be real, and they're going to come out, and they're releasing this specifically at this moment in time for a reason. Please understand, as I keep telling you, our planetary changes, things are changing, dimensions are changing, frequency on the planet is changing. They're going to have to come out soon. And this says, and I want you to watch this and listen to what they're telling you. They're telling you in this that there's a highly probable thing that there is other life. Okay? They're saying it's not one of ours. They did the research. It's not anyone else. They got this budget for $22 million, this Black Op budget, etc. I believe this is the leaking of the drip, 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 as it started about a year ago. More and more about aliens. Then you found the aliens in Peru, things like that. Yes, Kathy, I believe there's a lot of spaceships that are cloaked. That's true. Their technology. And cloaking is easy. We can do it, and we do it as well, just so you know. Good night, Steve.
As eyewitness reports through a myriad of different ways and avenues that we receive the information, and try to ascertain and determine if that information is a potential threat to national security, in a nutshell.
So what did you find?
Well, we found a lot. I think it's probably been a little bit mischaracterized in some of the social media you see and what people put out, because a lot of times when we don't have a lot of information, we tend to fill in those gaps with what we think is logical. And there's still, by the way, a lot we really don't know. I think what's important is that we have identified some very, very interesting...
You want to listen to this guy's words, because he can't say a lot. This guy is serious top secret clearance, and he's the former Pentagon military intelligence official who ran the UFO unit. So he can only say so much. So the key in this interview is to listen what he's not saying and what he is saying and how he's saying it.
Interesting, anomalous type of aircraft. Let's call them aircraft. Things that don't have any obvious flight surfaces, any obvious forms of propulsion, and maneuvering in ways that include extreme maneuverability beyond, I would submit, the healthy G-forces of a human or anything biological, hypersonic velocities, low observability, positive lift, again, seemingly in defying the laws of aerodynamics. I will tell you unequivocally that through the observation, scientific methodologies that were applied to look at this phenomena, that these aircraft, we'll call them aircraft, are displaying characteristics that are not currently within the U.S. inventory, nor in any foreign inventory that we are aware of.
So I know you're being clear, but I mean, the answer is yes.
I can't speak on behalf of the government. Obviously, I'm not in the U.S. government anymore. My personal belief is that there is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone, whatever that means.
We need wiretaps, surveillance vans, a satellite team in Bogota.
Yes, I love this new energy. The entire CIA is at your disposal.
Does that include the Starbucks in the lobby?
Looking out into the vastness of the universe, the greatest mystery is right here, right under our feet. The ultimate aim of all science, to penetrate the unknown. These are the stories that will make you say, what the fuck?
Commander David Fravor still can't explain what he says he saw that day. November 2004, the Navy fighter pilot was on a training mission west of San Diego when he was ordered to check out something in the water not far away. On a clear day, over a smooth ocean, he saw the object, waves breaking over it, and says he saw something hovering above it.
It's randomly moving north, south, east, west, just random, just stopping, going the other direction, like you could do with a helicopter, but a little bit more abrupt. It looks like a 40-foot-long tic-tac with no wings.
Fravor says he and his four-man team tracked the object for several minutes until it just disappeared. Tonight, CNN has learned the Pentagon had a secretive program to research UFOs like the one Fravor spotted. The project was called the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, run by an official named Luis Elizondo.
I think this is a national security imperative. We have clear things that we do not understand how they work, operating in areas that we can't control.
A defense official tells CNN the program cost at least $22 million over 5 years before it was shut down in 2012. According to the New York Times and Politico, which first reported this story, tens of millions of dollars for the project were pushed through by former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Those publications say a lot of the money for the Pentagon UFO program went to a company called Bigelow Aerospace, run by a longtime friend of Reid's, Robert Bigelow, a big believer in UFOs. Public records show Bigelow contributed about $20,000 to Reid and his Political Action Committee.
That campaign contributor got research contracts from this program. That just is a bad picture. It doesn't look good for anybody. It's hard to...
That is correct, Rocco. As I said last night, this program was not shut down in 2012. But pay attention. Harry Reid gave this to a friend of his, $22 million for this company. And that's what they're telling you, how much they paid, okay? But it is confirmed, just by that man, that UFOs are real, okay? That we're not alone. And this is the beginning. Yes, exactly, Rocco. The words officially it was shut down, just like MK Ultra, right?
Imagine that's something that came about that way and profited somebody who pushed for the program was a good use of taxpayer money.
A Pentagon spokesman, in fact, told CNN the program was shuttered because there were, quote, other higher priority issues that merited funding.
It's definitely crazy to spend $22 million to research UFOs. Pilots are always going to see things that they can't identify, and we should probably look into them. But to identify them as UFOs, to target UFOs to research, that is not the priority we have as a national security matter right now.
But
really? Let's just say we just see some unidentified flying Sirius supersonic, anti-gravity type ships going on like this pilot's on. You don't think it's important to investigate? That's a typical liberal right there. Sorry, and I don't like putting that tag, but that's just somebody who's... I shouldn't even say a liberal. That's somebody who just doesn't get it.
Pilots like Fravor, who says he saw something, see merits in the program.
What if it is real? Because I think it's real because I saw it. And what if there's more of these? And what if we do nothing?
Now, just a short time ago, Senator Reid responded to CNN.
Wow, John, you met Bob Bigelow, huh? Very cool. John, one of our board members, good friend of mine as well, says he met Bob Bigelow. I know Bob Bigelow has spent tons of money looking for UFOs on his own.
Saying he's, quote, proud of this program and its groundbreaking studies. Speak for themselves, he says. Reid says it's silly and counterproductive to politicize the serious questions raised by the work of the UFO program. The head of that aerospace firm, Robert Bigelow, did not respond to CNN's multiple requests for comment by our deadline. Wolf?
Brian, there's also information that former Senator Reid tried to keep information about this entire program out of public view.
That's right, Wolf. The New York Times says Reid acknowledged to them that he and two other senators, Ted Stevens and Daniel Inouye, both deceased, did not want public debate on the Senate floor over this program. Reid told the Times that the funding for the project was so-called black money, meaning that was secret money for classified programs. They just didn't want it talked about.
That's not LNS, though, is it? It's not. That is LNS, dude. Well, if there's another thing, It's rotated.
These haunting images, part of a bombshell first admission by the military of a government program investigating sightings of UFOs.
It's rotated.
This mysterious black object spotted off the coast of San Diego by Navy fighter pilots in 2004.
My gosh.
That encounter,
This is
documented
2004.
by ATIP, the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, a shadowy office in the Pentagon that ran from 2007 to 2012. According to the New York Times, it examined so-called anomalous aerial vehicles. The Pentagon confirming to ABC News the initiative ended in favor of other higher priority issues that merited funding. Former Democratic Nevada Senator Harry Reid, who according to the New York Times helped secure the $22 million initiative, defending the spending, tweeting, "This is about science and national security. If America doesn't take the lead in answering these questions, others will."
Something like this was a pet project by Senator Reid and some of his colleagues, something that they thought needed to be investigated, but the real question is, was it worth $22 million for 2 or 3 fascinating videos?
The new revelations raising questions about how the government should handle suspicious objects in the sky.
Though the funding for the program ended in 2012, the former director of ATIP telling me tonight that up until 2 months ago when he left, the program still existed. And he said they were still documenting sightings.
Still documenting sightings.
Lindsay, Roger is an alien. Roger!
Pow.
She was all over me and my wig fell off and we'd be in big trouble.
Pow.
The Pentagon has been keeping track, or trying to, of the type of aircraft that don't take off and land from conventional airports.
This is the beginning, I'm telling you now.
We're talking about unidentified flying objects, UFOs.
We're not to be disturbed. Unless you see something funny on YouTube.
You can laugh about it if you want, but a lot of people are taking this revelation very seriously. Correspondent Garrett Tenney is here with more on this program. Good evening, Garrett.
Well, Brett, good evening to you. We may not know if aliens exist, but it turns out our government had a special team of UFO hunters that was trying to find out.
Not had,
the Pentagon
still
now
have.
confirms the existence of a secretive UFO program tasked with investigating reports of unidentified flying objects.
This is no coincidence that this has been released by the Pentagon right now. I'm telling you. You have the bodies in Peru, and I'm telling you, they were moved there, probably from Area 51 or other, to make it look like they were discovered in Peru. And Guy is investigating those, and its DNA and all the above of these creatures, beings, excuse me. And now you have this coming out. And just like the new cigar-shaped object that we covered a week ago that came into our atmosphere, our solar system, and floated right through on an orbit, right around, and they've never seen anything like it.
The Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program was created in 2007 at the urging of then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. And over the next 5 years, the program received more than $20 million for its work, which included analyzing a variety of aeronautic threats ranging from what could be our adversaries' next-generation aircraft to reports from military pilots of encounters with unknown objects like this one in 2004 that appear to defy the laws of physics.
Hey, that thing, dude. Look at that thing. It's rotated.
Now, the Pentagon tells us the program ended in 2012 when officials determined there were other higher priority issues. But the program's former director, who resigned in October, says it was only the funding that ended and that over the last 5 years, the program has continued investigating incidents alongside their new responsibilities. This weekend, Harry Reid said he has no regrets about the program he championed, tweeting in part, "This is about science and national security. If America doesn't take the lead in answering these questions, others will." And this isn't the first time the Pentagon's investigated UFOs. Between 1947 and 1969, the U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book investigated more than 12,000 UFO sightings. And while most of those ended up having reasonable explanations, 700 sightings remain unexplained. Brett?
Cue the X-Files music. Garrett, thank you.
UFO sightings around the world have reached an all-time high. According to data from the National UFO Reporting Center, UFO sightings experienced a boom in the 1980s. Reported sightings went from less than 5,000 in 1980 to about 10,000 in 1990. But between 1990 and 2000, sightings rose by nearly 30,000. In those 10 years, more than 45,000 sightings were recorded, a record. And it appears the spike in UFO sightings was not an anomaly, but a trend. In an 8-year period from 2002 to 2009, more than 36,000 UFOs were reported. Since then, more than 11,000 more UFOs were reported, with more than 47,000 being cataloged since 2010. Statistician and PhD candidate Sam Montfort brought this information to light. With the collection of data from the reporting center, Montfort found that individuals are far more likely to spot a UFO in the U.S. than anywhere else in the world. He reports that on average, there are 2,500 sightings reported per 10 million people. That's 300 times higher than the global median. Northwestern and northeastern states have filed the most reports sighting per capita. Perhaps with 7 new known planets in the universe, we could experience even more close encounters in the future.
So, the aliens have come to Earth to destroy all mankind. And, they're going to start at McDonald's. So if you're in line there, you better run. Whoa, whoa, not the workers, though.
John, believe in aliens.
Oh, I can't.
Wait, we're going to read the best one. John said people from space.
Yeah, people from space, Bigfoot in the mountains, Russian collusion. There should be some evidence, just saying. There should be. There's plenty of evidence.
Janice, where do you fall on this subject? Do you believe in aliens?
Believe they're aliens. I've got to believe there's something bigger out there than just us.
That's what you give me. I think it is arrogant to believe that there's no God and it's all accidental, and therefore there's got to be something else out there. Right. I mean, I don't know if it's aliens and what would it be though?
It's something.
I mean, we've literally had presidents who've said it on the. President Truman at a press conference said, "We've seen flying discs. We deal with them all the time."
I 100% believe there are.
Why are you laughing? Are you laughing at presidents?
I could throw some CDs at you and we would find them too. Oh my gosh, do you still have CDs? Somewhere at my mom's house.
Yep. You want to go? You want to get into this?
There's a reason why science fiction movies are so popular.
And why it's called fiction. No, not necessarily. Science fiction. And if you realize, did you see all the leaked emails between Sony when we saw that huge dump of emails from Sony and all of the discussions back and forth with members of the government and so forth? We learned that members of the defense intelligence community were meeting with Sony regularly for hours at a time.
We didn't learn, you learned, because you were the only person that read all those emails.
It would explain a lot if we could blame a lot on aliens, right? If we could just blame all the world's problems on aliens.
Or as what President Reagan said, here's what President Reagan said about that. He said, I talked to Mikhail Gorbachev about this very issue, and wouldn't it be interesting if suddenly we had this disclosure, all of our sort of world problems would vanish. He said that at the UN.
Yeah. You hear what he just said? Anybody paying attention? I'm going to back this up a minute. Very important. All right, ready?
For hours at a time.
We didn't learn, you learned, because you were the only person
just
that read
listen.
all those emails.
It would explain a lot if we could blame a lot on aliens, right? If we could just blame all the world's problems on aliens.
Or as what President Reagan said, here's what President Reagan said about that.
Listen.
He said, I talked to Mikhail Gorbachev about this very issue, and wouldn't it be interesting if suddenly we had this disclosure, all of our sort of world problems would vanish. He said that at the UN.
Yeah.
President Reagan said at the UN, if we all of a sudden had this great big disclosure that there were aliens, it would solve all of the world's problems and the world would come together. Okay? Pay attention. Pay attention. So, breaking this out now that you see that they're showing you that there are truly unidentified objects and that they believe, there you go, Roberta, boom, exactly. And this is the point. So if they bring out all of a sudden serious disclosure, so now they'll drop this piece like they just did now, it'll make news for the next, few days. Then it'll go away. And then, time will go by, maybe a year or so. And then the next thing you'll know, all of a sudden you'll say some new thing will come out and some big thing. Oh my God, did you just see this? A ship landed on the White House. I'm just saying, something big will happen and they'll say, oh, we're definitely not alone. And alien disclosure to avert, nuclear war, and all the world comes together and says, boom, hey, everything's good. We got aliens. We all need to come together as one world government. one world order to either save ourselves from this and or to these alleged beings and or that to bring people together if they're friendly. Either way it goes, you get New World Order. Okay? Either way you go, you get New World Order, and just like Reagan said with Gorbachev. And this is part of the plan.
Reagan has said that twice in public. It's like Independence Day. We all come together to fight the aliens.
Reagan said that twice, so that everybody would come together in the world to fight these if they're bad beings. Okay, I'm just saying this is what's going to. I'm telling you, this is the setup, and it's not like immediate. They've been dripping this stuff this past year, and this is a big drip. This is a huge drip. So then, boom, the next one will even be bigger. And I told you you're going to start to see major archaeological finds around the world over the next year. They already started this year. That is going to, and it includes those mummified, what they believe, alien beings from Peru. You're going to see more and more of these major archaeological finds. And then, boom, they're going to come out and say, well, religion is not what we think it is. We didn't come from where we think we came from. We don't see. I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen.
That's how you get world. I gotta go to the radio, by the way. I'll see you guys.
Bye. Clayton, you need to write a book on presidents and alien behavior. Here's a question.
Yes, New World Order is nothing more than fascist, globalized, authoritarian rule. That's what it is. But what better way to get the masses together to say that we have aliens that are against us? Yes, Kathy, exactly. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it a long time ago. Exactly. Yes, Antarctica will be rolled out as well, Michael. They'll turn it into one world order, religious type thing. Exactly. I've been saying it for a year now. And more is coming out.
I would love to do that.
Here's a question.
Not a bad idea.
If you encountered an alien and it could talk, what would you ask it?
Well, the thing is that what we know from government records and all sorts of high-level members of the military, that there's not actual verbalization. It's.
But what would you want to know?
I would want to know the history of our world. I would want to know
where they live. Please, like, I'm not buying any of this. I'm like, this is. Okay.
She thinks we're alone in the universe. We've been talking about this for years. She thinks this is it. This is it. She thinks that we're alone in the universe.
Or do not.
I didn't say that. I just don't.
Is that ET?
Okay, you said there's evidence. I'll have to research that. To be honest with you, it's just never been something that's fascinated me. I like real world problems and issues. That's just never fascinated me. I don't like. Right. I mean, are you hearing Gavin?
He's making fun of me.
Right. Is he making? Are you making fun of Clayton? He said because Ainsley has friends. Right. I like living a life.
Do you not find
I was too involved in my social scene to worry about what's happening in some planet I've never heard of.
As a kid, I used to love. I had an astronomy magazine as a kid. I used to go out in the neighborhood with my telescope as a little boy, and I'd have my friends. They would come over. We would look at Saturn and stuff. I love that stuff. I love this.
Are you excited about the eclipse coming up?
I am at the end of August.
Oh, it's on.
The best place to see it is
one of the
Tennessee,
most.
right?
It's going to be so. No, there's actually 14 states that you can be in where you're going to see the path of totality.
Totality.
Yeah.
But isn't...
That's our next eclipse coming up. So, yikes. Another eclipse coming up. Give me a second here. And I want to go into this. 1 second here. Things that make you go, Okay. There's been a 50,000-foot high volcanic blast in the Northwest Pacific. I'm going to bring it to you right now. Like I said, the Pacific is the hot spot. Give me a minute here. This is big. Pacific. Okay. Guys, I want to say something quickly for those who have come in late or whatever. Okay? Please listen to me. And I don't want to say this again. The train accident in Washington is not caused by an earthquake, not caused by Antifa, not a terrorist act, not some secret freaking plan with the Atlanta airport for some major BS. It was simply an accident on a new high-speed train. Nothing more. And I'm telling you, even my sources confirmed this, the governmental source. Trust what I tell you. I would tell you if it was something else. Okay? It is just an accident. At first, they believed it was because of the tracks not being they were original old train tracks there. That was an existing line. They got a ton of money from the feds to put in this new line and reroute it to save a lousy 10 minutes. This was a funded government. Okay? This is what this was. And this particular train didn't even have its fail-safe systems installed yet properly. And they let this train start, and it was doing roughly 80 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour area on the track. Okay? Nothing else is involved with it. I promise you. I would be the first one, as I've said from the beginning, no Antifa, no thing that they were in the area and they've claimed responsibility for this shit that other people are saying out there. The American Patriot and Cernovich and Jones. More garbage. I called them all out on freaking Facebook, on Twitter yesterday. Okay? It's ridiculous. It was, like I said, it is just an accident. Okay? Not everything is a government conspiracy or things of that nature. The Atlanta airport, different story. I'll be covering that tomorrow. But I'm just telling you, there's nothing else there. Good God. Anybody will turn this into a money-making, false propaganda for them to get clicks, likes, buy their products, donate them money. They call themselves reporters. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Just like I told everybody, I warned everybody. Do you all remember for the 2 months going up to November 4th, especially the month of October, everything on Jones and Cernovich and Jack Popolachevich, everything was Antifa, November 4th, big army, big civil war, big this. I didn't even cover it. I kept telling people it's all BS, not to worry. People were messaging me like crazy. Scott, what do you think about this Antifa thing? I'm like, I'm not even covering it because it's all bullshit. Full page, they sent me full page New York Times ad. I said, and yes, what does this mean? I said it means nothing and nothing's going to happen. And guess what? Nothing happened. No big Antifa civil war happened. A couple of very small incidents happened with some protesting. That's it. It's all hype. It's all bullshit for fear and for these guys to make money on. And the people that follow that and believe Antifa's got something to do with this train, you got rocks in your head. So pay attention. I don't care if you remember or not. If you're believing that shit, you got rocks in your head. Yes, Michael, we've covered a lot of Antarctica here in prior shows. I'll go into what really happened at the airport. There was a specific, as I opened up, there was a specific flight that landed from a top Israeli organization, and it was the only plane permitted to leave several hours before the airport was open when all other planes were grounded. There's a lot to that story. I told you all of this before. And it wasn't that someone broke into the airport to create this fire. They hacked and overloaded the system. You could start a fire in an electronic transfer station just by computer, just so you know that. Antifa's bullshit. They're all bullshit. Black Lives Matters, Antifa, all political garbage. All garbage. And it makes me, like, for real, like, these people just make me sick. Unbelievable. To just make me sick. Oops. Shit. Hey. Where'd my background go? Things that make you go, There we go. Yikes. Okay. Yes, Rocco. There's more to that than just this hazardous items and animals from many countries, not just Israel. All right, let's get into this. This is important. I told you 2 weeks ago and a week ago and the other night, you're going to see major up in the Pacific increase. Volcanoes, earthquakes, everything. Okay, this shit is bad over there, and it's going to get worse. 50,000 foot high volcanic blast in Northwest Pacific, Midwest USA, M4, magnitude 4.0 as expected. Midwest, a 4.0, usually 5.0 is the real number.
Hello, everybody. It is 10:12 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, the 19th of December, 2017. Sorry for the late start, but we were doing a little bit of deer observation out front, and you guys could probably see it on the camera out front. Pretty cool out there. Viewer sent a salt lick and some bird seed, which arrived today in USPS. The United States Postal Service delivered it to us. Wasn't expecting that, so we put it outside, and of course the deer appreciate that. But we're not here for wildlife, although it is very interesting and awesome to see. We are here on the Earthquake 3D live stream, and we do this on a daily basis. We do seismic updates, and we also issue weekly earthquake forecast for new areas that we watch for movement. And then throughout the week, we check off the areas that are hit. We also keep track of the areas that are missed. And at the end of the week, we then issue a new forecast for the next week. And it goes on and on and on. We've done this for years at this point. And let's get into it tonight. Let's jump into the deep end. So what happened since yesterday at my update at 10 p.m.? Well, let's get into the United States first. This is pretty significant. A new swarm of earthquakes has broken out in Oklahoma, starting out with a 4.0. Then a new swarm of earthquakes broke out. A super fracture has occurred, and multiple other wells were excited. We're looking at over 10 different earthquakes today, topping out at 4.0. Now, do you guys know where that came from? We just need to go back a day and a half to 2 days, and we had our 4s up here in the northwest. We told you it would be going down across Yellowstone, and the only spot we're still waiting to see hit is Colorado. Additionally, over in California, new 3.0 activity and swarms broke out at the California-Nevada border near Hawthorne. Also, yesterday's 3 showing up, but today a new 3 also populating the map, connected through with 2s between the different areas that were showing activity yesterday. Now, you'd have to pay attention yesterday to know what I'm talking about today. Really quick, let's turn on the 0.0 and greater earthquake feed, and then you'll really be able to see it. Do you see all these stacks of earthquakes here?
Look at that.
These stacks are new additions. They
Look at that.
This big just a day ago.
And you think you're safe in California?
Pretty obvious. We have 2 to 3,
I don't mean to laugh, but
even
that's
4 if you consider the creeping section of the San Andreas a stack. Really, this is a
big event coming.
But these are all right on top of each other. So, in other words, the plate is moving, and we're looking at activity from Southern California to Central California to Northern California, going all the way up the coast. Additionally, from South Idaho across Yellowstone up into Montana, the Midwest U.S., and down in Texas, all today.
That's just today.
Okay? So that's just a brief recap of the U.S. Let's go look internationally. Wait till you see what else hit. So check off Oklahoma off the list. Check off the swarms in California at the Nevada.
Look at the planet. Look at it.
If you were keeping track of things we told you to watch out for this week. All the way down here in the South Pacific, look at this, guys. 5.6 struck last night. We talked about
5.6. It's probably a 6.6 or higher.
Deep earthquake location. You see our deep earthquakes here, raised high off the globe.
See them?
5.6 transferring across.
All in the Pacific.
Today, new 5 and swarm of 4s going up to 4.8. There's multiple 4.8s in here at different times throughout the last day and a half to 2 days. So that's a big increase.
Huge.
On the tip of our south arrow. Additionally, there's 2 new eruptions going on.
Listen to this.
Villarrica and Nevados del Chilean, sandwiched right in the middle of all this mess. Going up to Central America, Mexico, as expected, swarming out with 4s, going from the swarm location in the center up to
Notice the Caribbean and the West Indies over here.
Down to the south,
Right over here.
Fuego volcano in Guatemala. That all happened today as well. Over here in the West Pacific, one single 5.3 struck in our warned location to the east of our letter D. And for my people down in New Zealand, spot on 4.5 hit at the plate boundary. Check it off the list if you were keeping track of areas that we named. Central New Zealand, 4.5. That's a half magnitude off from the top end of what we were looking for. We said 4.5 to 5.0. Up to the north, look at Japan. Yesterday,
here we go. Pay attention.
Videos, which came under attack. Over 100 thumbs down now on my video and only like 900 thumbs up. So it's like a huge attack. On my video, just telling people in Japan that we issued the warning for them. So if you guys could jump over to my YouTube channel, give it a thumbs up if you could on the Japan video, because somebody's got a real problem. But check it out. Look what happened today. Yesterday's
Watch this.
in pink.
I told you Japan is going to be gone within 5 years. I'm telling you now.
To the north,
underwater.
5.0 activity, 4.9, 4.8, 4.7, creeping up the coast. Now, all we're looking for at this point, over the past 2 days, there's been enough energy released here to equal about a 5.5. We're looking for up to 6.3. So I'm looking for something larger by the end of the week. And I think it's pretty obvious that Japan is a-moving. And why is Japan moving?
Japan's moving all right.
I don't have to even show it to you. It's right here on the screen. It's the 4.9, the deep earthquakes that struck down below the location. Now, as we go over to the west, look at this. New 5.0 earthquake, 4.9, struck where? Smith Island. Now, I had to look up the name of this when I issued the forecast this week on Sunday night. We issued the warning for here. We talked about how this island is owned by India, technically. And I said, what's the name of it? Went and looked it up. I said, Smith. Okay, that's a real Indian-sounding name. Anyways, Smith Island there, hit by a 5, just as expected. Then also, after that, a new 5.2 struck right at the bend of our plate boundaries between Eurasia and the Indian subcontinent. So here we are. We have a 5.2. That is also expected. We're looking for activity to complete all the way across over into Europe, which today we were not let down. Iran, look.
There it is.
Tell you, the largest earthquake of the day in all of the Middle East, a 4.5.
Notice Iran is getting hit with some very big
see if I can highlight that
earthquakes.
4.5 to 4.9 earthquake struck right in Iran. Now I'm going to turn on a display capture here. 1 second. Okay, now you should be able to see what I see and my mouse. We issued our warning right here at the center part of Iran and said to watch for it to go up to 6. Well, here we are at a 5, 4.9, 4.5, somewhere in that range. So all that being said, we're looking for a magnitude higher by the end of the week, Iran. I know I've got viewers there now. I've got people translating into Farsi. I don't know what language you even speak there, but okay, somebody's translating it into your language, which is great, and that's what I want. You don't have to listen to the whole planet forecast if you don't want to. I want the people in Iran to know the reason they're getting hit. They're getting hit by pressure coming out of Asia. So Asia pushing over to the west into the Middle East, that then compresses both plate boundaries, and right now the center is being compressed. Over to the west, over in Europe, look what's going on here. Switzerland got hit today. Yeah, that's right. Swiss, right here at the Italy-Swiss border, 3.2 and a 1.5.
Over the next 12 months, you're going to watch this activity go through the roof around the planet.
Warning is issued for. Additionally, Austria has been warned, but they have not been hit. And down to the south, it has all bottlenecked in the Aegean Sea. We're expecting the Aegean Sea to get hit by a 6 over on the western side, or upper 5. I mean, don't fault me if it comes in at 5.7 or 5.9. But I'm looking for something like a 6 to be striking here.
Nah, Rocco, CERN's not doing this.
Now, that's coming from Iran. If that doesn't hit in the next couple days... and
CERN got nothing to do with this.
So in 2 days, if I don't see that earthquake in the Aegean, I'm canceling the warning for that and de-elevating it down to a 5 instead of a 6. And I don't normally do that, but in light of the deep earthquakes and what's going on here in the Pacific, we have to be on watch. Oh, hold on.
Watch.
A new 4.5 earthquake has just struck at the Isle of Crete. Out here on the tip of our red arrow. Let's go get our information on this. Okay, just struck at 4:18 UTC. Time right now is 4:22. 4 minutes ago. People might still have felt this earthquake. All right, well, magnitudes on this. I guess we're going to probably need to go check. Let us go together over to the data contribution.
Oh, yes, Rocco. CERN is in that area. Yes, they are.
Look at that. How many stations are reporting that? 9? 9 stations? 4 point, let's see.
Stephen,
5.2,
enough
5.4,
on the feed.
5.1, 4.8, 4.7,
Please.
4.7, 4.6, 5.1, 5.3. Looks like it's a low-end 5, guys. Now, look, we were looking for up to a 6, but it looks like a low-end 5. They're going to probably play around with the magnitudes on this. That's just one magnitude off from what we're looking for, a power factor of 10. All right, that may be, if they elevate this to 5, that may be the earthquake we're looking for. This is going to split 3 ways, so this is all happening real time. In the next several hours, this earthquake is going to split 3 ways. Do you see the 3 arrows to the north? Arrow to the east, going over to Romania. arrow in the center going across Bosnia and Albania, arrow to the west going over across Italy, then down out across Gibraltar. Okay, all three are going to get hit. Now, I'm assuming this is a 5 instead of a 4.5 by looking at the stations, okay? So
Yes, I'm going to say this again for everybody. Maybe you've missed it. This planetary problem we are experiencing with earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, sun disruption is being caused 99% most likely being caused, and by what the evidence has been showing, the Planet 9 system, the Nemesis system in our solar system. It is disrupting the magnetic field of the Earth and the Sun. That's what's causing this. And it's going to get worse. I don't know how many times I have to say it. If you want to say that the planet Nibiru, wonderful. Planet X, Planet 9. It's not a planet. It's a solar system. It's not one planet. It's made up of 7 planets or even possibly even more. No one really knows for sure. And if you look at the current evidence, that's what it points to. That's exactly what it points to. Is that our solar system is being disrupted. Our sun's activity is being disrupted. They're blocking our sun and using a sun simulator for a serious reason. They're chemtrailing heavy. I'm going to say this again. They're not using chemtrails to block you from seeing anything. They're using chemtrails to cut down the radiation on the planet. It is most likely our brown dwarf sun's twin, causing havoc with our sun and the magnetics of what connect the sun to the earth, the moon. This is the problem. This is not going away. This, earthquakes, I keep saying week after week, and you keep seeing them getting worse. And when you're going to get back into this, you're going to see Dutch Sense is going to bring up about a 50,000 foot high volcanic blast. I don't know what it's going to take for people to understand. You need half the planet to crack in half before you go, oh my God. Anybody look at the sun today? It was the most oddest, largest sun I've ever seen. This is serious stuff. And it just gets to me where people don't, I don't know. I got to shake my head. This is not normal. Meaning, the planet going through this, okay, is in a cycle of when the system returns to ours and it's going through a magnetic shift. It is going through its magnetic shift. It doesn't happen like instantly. This has been going on for some time. That's also why the frequencies have changed on the planet as well. We're operating at a much higher frequency.
Assuming it's a 5 or a 4.9, okay, somewhere in the upper 4 range. Well, if you take a 5 and you divide it 3 ways, you get to about a 4.7's energy divided 3 ways. So this 5 will break apart in 3, and that'll equal 3 different 4.7's. New earthquake just struck in Turkey. Wow, we're rocking and rolling here. Rocking and rolling. New 3.1 just struck in Turkey as I'm talking. Anyways, we're going to be going across to the west-northwest, and this 4.5 this 5.0 divided 3 ways equals 3 different 4.7's. So we have to warn Romania for a 4.7. We have to warn Bosnia for a 4.7, and we have to warn Italy for a 4.0 and a swarm. Now, why Italy a 4.0 and swarm? It already broke a year ago. The plate boundary fractured in August and October, and it hasn't stopped moving since. The good news for that is when energy hits here and there's a release, it's already broken down below in the plate boundary, so it's not as much energy as released as one of these more rigid areas that have.
And I'm going to say something else. I'm going to say it, whether you want to hear it or not. Everybody keeps saying, but God's in control. Pay attention. Pay attention. God helps those who help themselves. Okay? It's not like, okay, God says, hey, how you doing? Just sit back and do nothing, and everything's going to be fine. I'm in control. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. And I'm so sick of that excuse that people give in life. God's in control. Don't worry. Really? Tell that to the guy that's like stuck on the house. You know, a boat was sent. A helicopter was sent. Spaceship was sent to grab him off the roof of the house with flooded waters around him. And he goes, nope, I'll hang out here. God's in control. We are the ones in control. God resides in all of us. I cannot stand that excuse. I hate it. I love God, but I can't stand that excuse. It's like people just, it's the cop-out. God's in control. It's all good. Don't worry. I'll give you an example. It's like someone who says, I want a job. I need a car. I need a job. I need to support my family. Don't worry. I'll go. I'll pray. God will get, God. And then they get angry and go, God, why didn't you give me that, job or that house or the car I need or whatever? God turns around, hey, listen, maybe if you got your ass off the couch and went and go look for a job, God works through others. Okay? God answers prayers through others. In other words, things come to fruition from prayers, even health-wise, doctor-wise, things. God puts the people in the right spot at the right time if you help yourself. If you help yourself. Oh, I can't stand that. It's like saying, don't worry, the planet's cracking open. I live in California. There's fires burning hundreds of thousands of acres. Shit is going on all over the place. And, it's all good. I'm going to stay here on this mountain, get burned down, but God's in control. It's all good. But yet God sent you a fire truck, a limo, a spaceship to get you out of the burning house, to leave, and then you say, no, don't worry, I'll be good. What? God just tried to help you and give you everything that you need through others, and you turned him down. Whew. God. God's got the plan. It's all good. This is the brainwashing. Don't worry, don't help yourself. Just rely on God. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. Yeah, Michael very well said, get off your knees. Terry puts it very well. You have to do the work planting to get a harvest. Exactly. God. Oh. Dude, does that burn me up. God. Bad things happen to good people. That's why I keep trying to tell people. I used to hate God as a kid, okay? I would always have these private conversations with God. I always questioned God in my theology class under Catholicism. I was very intelligent, always questioned these things. Things did not sit right with me, And I used to get in trouble for it. No, you're going to live, Mr. Binsack, crack. Listen, pay attention, nun. Stop cracking my hands. I said this. This is how I was as a kid. I was not somebody you wanted in your classroom. Pay attention. I was smarter than the teacher. Point being, common sense-wise anyway. Point being, keep cracking my knuckles. I'm going to keep telling you the same thing over and over again. It's like ridiculous. Oh, you're not going to be anything. You're not going to do anything. You're not this. Really? And that's why when this incident happening back 17 years ago, the stupid thing with the bankruptcy with my auto accident and the bad DA, I get labeled by the newspaper as a fraud, a con, this, that, and everything. Pay attention. I quit school in 8th grade. Never in trouble with the law. Opened my own company at 18. I helped myself. Even everything that I've been through. And my childhood is so horrible, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I want to help people. And I never used that excuse of being a victim. Okay? I never said I did this in my life because I was abused as a child horribly, All the above. Sexually, physically, mentally, emotionally, every which way. I left home, never looked back. Worked my ass off. Lived in my car, even worked my ass off. Then got to move above my grandparents' house. My mom's grandparents' house. And opened my first company at 18. Licensed contractor. I built a multi-million-dollar company. 23 cover magazines. Haters will go, Scott's a con, Scott's a fraud. Really? Pay attention. I've built 3 of those companies in my life. Worked my ass off. You don't have to be, who's the con and the fraud? The people that say, yeah, God's got it, you're all good. The ones that sit home on the couch and judge me or judge others and say, you know, you're nothing. You don't know this and that. You're a con, you're a fraud because some newspaper says it, right? People call me a 3-time felon. What are you, crazy? Nuts, nada. I have no 3 felony convictions. They don't even know what they're talking about. My point being, I used to have a bad relationship with God as a kid because I would blame God because of how I was raised as a Catholic. I was blaming God and said, how could there be a God to allow, if God really loves us, to allow horrible things to happen to an innocent child? Pay attention. So this is my argument. Just so you know, many abused children go through this guilt, okay? They believe and they have most of them, a lot of abused children hate God. They do not believe in God, okay? Or children that suffered severe trauma and things of that nature. Why would God do this to a child? Why would parents do? There is no God. That's impossible. Here's the problem with that theory, okay? Once you die and you understand, we pick our parents. The soul picks their parents. They pick their path, and there's lessons to be learned. And this is why bad things happen to good kids and innocent children. Because you're not dealing with a child, so to speak. You're dealing with an aged soul that has come back and must learn these lessons. And believe me, you come back. If you choose to come back, or you get stuck, you get staying over there. You're going to stay there in limbo. You're going to stay there in limbo as a soul. You either decide, I'm coming back, I'm going to learn, and go forward. People don't get it. They just don't want to get it. And so, once I learned this, God became a whole different enlightenment to me because it's the truth. And that explains why horrible things happen to children and or their parents. It also explains why a soul may pick to come back into life and then the child may be, like killed or had cancer, a brain tumor, things of that nature. And this is the point. If I didn't help myself, I would die in a frozen car in the wintertime. Okay? 73 Mustang. 16, I was illegally driving. Back then you could still drive, and then 17 you got licensed. That's the illegal thing I did as a kid. I drove without a license for about 6-7 months, okay? When I left home. That's it. I'll tell you what I did. But I had to work. I had to survive. No food, count my money, do whatever. I got a job as working for a contractor, started doing side jobs, bought more tools, went and got my contractor's license. It was at 17. I said I was 18. I was 3 months away, but I needed the contractor's license. Opened my business, got incorporated, did whatever. East Coast Construction. My company never had a big demise, meaning like people sued me or did anything. I got divorced. We sold it off. You'll see. There's nothing there. My point is, my point is, you can achieve anything. But you can't just sit there and do nothing. I would have died. I'm telling you, I would have died. If I would have stayed home, I would have died. And I died several times as a kid, believe me. And then came back and no. God does not just sit there and go, here, Scott, here's your job, here's your thing. And I had to walk that path. I had to know what it was like to work hard. I had to know what it was like to do something for myself. I was told you're going to be nothing, yeah? By the time I was 23, everybody in my family, almost everybody, came. They said I was crazy. They said I would be nothing. They were at my door asking me for advice and money. Advice, money, and even forgiveness. And you know what I said? Pack your shit. Have a nice day. So when people say this, that bugs the hell out of me. Just like MFA. I have busted my ass for a year on this company to bring it to where it is. And now it's companies. And with the help and aid of others, through God, we are where we are today and growing seriously strong. But that takes dedication, it takes work, it takes time, it takes money, it takes joint initiative, everything. God helps those who help themselves. You know, it's just like, oh, God, does that bother me? It's a free will universe, as Michael says. That's correct. We create our paths. That's the gift God gave us. That's part of free will, just so you know. Ooh, God, does it burn me up. Yikes. And I don't like people who hide behind religion. You know how many preachers freaking have hid behind religion and turned out to be sexual deviants? And big ones. Jerry Falwell, all of these guys. Robbing people, taking their money, going up there claiming Jesus and talking in tongues, turned out to be a sexual deviant. Lost everything he had. One of the biggest preachers at the time. It's all horse shit. Swaggart, sorry, Jimmy Swaggart. I apologize. Thank you, Michael. I mean, it's just, do you understand what people can do together? That's my point. 400, 500, 1,000 members together. Do you know what we can achieve and then bring more in and more in and more in and more in? Do you know what we can achieve? Oh my God, it's endless. And then help others and help ourselves at the same time. It's dedication. It's hard work. It's 24/7 for me majority of the time over this past year. And believe me, I'm not complaining. I love to work, and this is something I'm dedicated to. This is something I love to do. This is something, even with all the hate, my family being harassed, my daughter being harassed, members being harassed, things from these people that just, having to waste money. You think I hate? You think I want to waste good MFA money on lawyers to go after haters? Really? That money could go into another part of our major part of our Atlas City, survival group, whatever. Expenses. We have huge expenses here. This is 7 organizations now. The people just don't understand. Jan, very well said. We have 2 choices every time we get up. Up the way is up to you. That is correct. Pedophile priests, let's talk about the Catholic Church and that. Really? That's okay though, right? And people still believe, that's okay. It's all good. That's God. Don't worry. Yeah, okay. That's not God. That's not God. Now, God is going to allow things to happen. That's my point. Because of our actions and our free will. Ooh, God, does that bother me. And it's like a plane crash, right? And you see stories where people have survived these plane crashes or things or these events that have happened where they get lost and they're mountain climbing or planes crash in the middle of the Rocky Mountains or wherever it may be. And the people are sitting there and they're like, some survive, some don't. And they're like, we're going to survive. We're going to survive together. And then they make it down and they find, through the horrible things, frostbite, losing limbs, everything. There's a great movie out about a recent, a true story about a gentleman who was lost in that, a snowboarder. Okay. Yeah, God was with him. But guess what? He took the incentive to save his life. He lost his legs in the end, but he survived. And you know what? God used him for the purpose that they wanted him to use him for all along. Okay. And he still snowboards, does everything without his legs, everything. And you know what? Losing his legs and having that experience and helping himself has made him who the man he is today and is carrying out his purpose in helping others get through the same thing. That's how God works. That's how life works. Jessica brings up, yes, Joel Osteen did not open his church up during Harvey until it was brought to their attention, and it went made from social media, then mainstream media. Then Joel Osteen opened up his church to Harvey victims and things. Okay? Don't kid yourself. It's a crock of shit. Oh, bugs me. Sorry for the rant, but that's just, I mean, it just bugs me.
Hasn't broken yet, where the plate boundaries are. Okay, now some people say, oh, there's no plate boundary there. This is the ancient plate boundary, the Craton Edge. Okay? Anyways,